Hello, we are back. We're going to talk Disney earnings. Beat the street. They had income from continuing operations about 50 cents. If you include all the sort of other things, it's 80 cents. And then the revenue was up as well. And the big number that was soft that people were disappointed in last time, but seems to be doing well, is Disney Plus subscribers. On CNBC, they said they were looking for 110 million, and there was 116. I did hear some optimistic people hoping for 115, so they even beat that. And even saw strong growths in things like ESPN Plus and Hulu, particularly on the video on demand front. Live TV actually saw a little bit of a decrease compared to the prior quarter, but the market is reacting positively. Let me get an updated quote for you.
I haven't looked since they said no dividend. So
yeah, so up about $10 to 188.79, probably close to getting soon that 190 target. Yeah, no dividend, no share repurchase until they can pay down their debt and things get more normalized. Which at the parks, they said they expect the domestic parks to be back in full sort of operating mode by the end of the year. So, I don't know what that means in terms of like live entertainment.
Calendar year. You have to specify.
Yeah, calendar year. December. Yeah, there was a little bit of drama online when he called Shang-Chi, not Shang-Chi, Eternals, a 2022 release, which comes out in November. So as far as Bob's thinking, it's a 2022 release. Some people online don't know when Disney's fiscal year is. So,
which is fair, but maybe they should, pay a little bit more attention before just claiming to millions of people.
There was also someone who was like, I'm sure they'll get asked that question. No, he won't, because they understand.
They're not going to ask that.
Yeah, they're not going to ask that question because they know what it means. I also don't know that they are specifically looking at a movie by movie basis the way consumers are, but he did. I kind of feel like has a little bit of buyer's remorse with scheduling Free Guy and Shang-Chi the way they did. Free Guy, there's some sort of contractual reasons, so apparently they do follow their contracts about releasing it in a hybrid or Disney Plus kind of situation or Hulu. In Shang-Chi, they just thought things would be more normal than they are today, and they kind of committed to it, so they're not going to change it. So you will have to go to theaters to see Free Guy.
Well, the contractual part was probably because they acquired it from Fox.
Yeah. So but he just kind of just limited to Shang-Chi, so we don't know what that means for Encanto, the aforementioned Eternals, or anything else. But those two movies will be back in theater. Obviously, by the time we get there, who knows what the world will look like. The Delta variant didn't seem to impact the parks at all. It just seems to be slowing down production again, and also theatrical releases. I think if you're going to go to Disney, you're going to go to Disney. But people might not.
It's still only been a few weeks. Like it's happened since the end of the quarter, so that's, I don't know. I don't think it's fair to say that they were unfazed by it. They definitely acknowledged it and that things had changed, but they're being realistic.
Yeah, I think it doesn't seem to be. I mean, I guess when you're comparing it to the first COVID shutdown, it doesn't seem to be as impactful, even because the bookings remain strong. Now, when you get closer, he did say that it did impact the convention business, which is obviously a little bit more, I don't know, not as susceptible to pent-up demand. A veterinary convention can wait a year, whereas kids, people are anxious to take their kids to Disney, especially after sort of a hard year as it was. I did like when he mentioned, he did mention a favorable guest mix, which is like code for less APs.
Fewer.
Yeah, fewer APs.
I want to take credit for calling out that Home Alone thing was on launch day, and now that's going to be Disney Plus Day, November 12th. So I'm proud of myself for picking up on that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see because last year was the first anniversary, right? They called it the Disney Plus anniversary, and they kind of made it a thing. I mean, not a huge thing, but it was somewhat of a thing. And this they seem to be putting a little bit more muscle behind. I wonder.
They won't tell us what that muscle is.
No, but I wonder if Book of Boba Fett will premiere that day as well, because it seems like there'll be like a lot of launches, kind of similar to when Disney
Maybe,
Plus.
but I guess it would have to be like a Friday and then a Wednesday thing, because Wednesday is the new
Well,
Friday.
right. Because Wednesday's the new Friday. So, because Disney Plus launched on what, Tuesday? Thursday? No,
I don't remember.
Oh. So,
it was a day.
It was a day. Late stage. Remember, I was all waiting up, trying to see which app store.
It might have been Wednesday. It might have been Wednesday because then 2 days later we got another Mandalorian.
Yeah. But in any case, what did you think, Kyle?
I guess it was better than I thought it would be in terms of a meeting. Someone actually like listened to the first part and then had a question that related to it instead of just going by what they were going to ask anyway. So that was exciting. The answer wasn't very exciting, as I kind of mentioned. No sports rights questions, which I was pleased with.
But yeah, it's funny how these things turn. You know, at one point it was expenditures at the park, then it became sports right, and subscription, paid TV subscriptions, like became Disney Plus subscribers. At some point it was like, who's going to succeed you, Bob?
I am curious to know why they're being so guarded about what percentage of subscribers have the bundle. That seems like such a common sense question that they get asked again and again and again, especially as they're pushing the bundle so much. So I don't know why they won't release that info, but I wish they would.
What I found interesting too is that he seemed to not be as committed to the three-pronged strategy of Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus as a separate thing. He says, this is what we started with. We'll look at it. We're not married to it. We could change it, which is different than, saying, as they typically do, like, oh, we think this is the right way to go right now. And, he seemed to waffle a little bit more on it.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but they're committed to flexibility.
But, I guess, I mean, and I know Dan Loeb, was the kind of guy who's like, was like, that you guys should do one thing and be all in. And I think based on the way they've launched internationally, I think, if Hulu wasn't pre-existing condition, probably would have been. But I don't think Disney wanted to come out of the gate with a service that would cost, what the Disney bundle costs. Because, and it's important to remember, I think, that, Hulu has 42 million subscribers. Disney Plus has 116. Now, obviously, that's Hulu's just domestic. So, it's probably a fair,
the weird Japan version.
Right. So we'll see what happens. But I would not be surprised if, and you're seeing it too, and just in commercials. It's like there's much more Disney bundle commercials than there were just Disney Plus commercials. The Disney Plus stuff seems to be, title based, like watch Mandalorian or Loki, whereas, the sort of service is really focused on Disney bundle. And I mean, I've talked about this before. If you go to disneyplus.com and you are not a subscriber, it will, in big headlines, say subscribe to the Disney bundle. And then, in tiny little print, if you'd like to, only get Disney Plus, click here. Mm-hmm. And so we'll see. Also, what I thought was interesting is they didn't really ask, and he didn't really mention like the success of Premier Access. Like, is it doing as well as they thought? How's it impact? I mean, obviously, there's two things going on. There's the change that would have happened anyway in terms of moving things to streaming, and then there's the fact that theaters aren't, running at full health, whether they're fault or not, and those are happening at the same time. So it's hard to separate, how much of this decision making is made because they have no other choice, and how much is made because they've been done anyway, eventually. And how much of it just sort of a speed up to something that might have been inevitable.
Yeah. But that's kind of what we were saying as far as, going forward with Shang-Chi, even if maybe they would have done things a little bit differently if this was if we would have known things a few months ago. But then this will be an interesting release strategy because 45-day window as opposed to the typical 90. So maybe the window gets shortened, just not as short as it is at this moment.
As a person who watches this a little bit, I'm surprised the commitment to such specified windows. Like I can see saying, hey, like, no more than 45 days. Like it's going to be at least 45 days before.
Well, I think that's basically what it is. It's not like DVDs always came out 90 days after. It was
but I feel like they have been doing it more on Disney Plus. Those Premier Access titles go on that date. Or it was before it was 45. Now it was 90 back then, and it might not make sense. There might be a marketing reason to do it on a different day, but they seem to be really committed and locked into these day windows as opposed to I remember when Santa Claus came out, Santa Claus 3, I think, and there was all this talk about windowing, and they're like, for this one, the window's going to be really long because we're going to release on DVD at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
And that made sense for that movie. I feel like if it came out today, it would be on DVD in January. But
I mean, it's hard because you do have to do a whole nother push for when you're talking the traditional home release. So you'd advertise the movie like heck for however long for the theatrical release. And then, if you wait 3 months, you're probably still coasting on some of that, but you're going to have to put more marketing dollars into pushing it again. So
but don't you have to do that anyway? Just to let them know that it's now a bit when you watch something on Premier Access, once it goes to non-Premier Access,
I don't think that they are doing that. I don't get a big push. You get the banner.
Yeah. And what happens if they did? Because I think even 45 days, you forget the movie came out. You don't know. Oh, now it's free. It's not circled on people's calendars.
I know, but I don't know how much that benefits them if you're already paying anyway. I guess if there's maybe it's something. I guess none of us have tried to cancel. Maybe if you try to cancel, they'd be like, "But did you know that you could watch Cruella right now?" But yeah, I guess I'm a little surprised now that we bring it up that there hasn't been more of a push for those, but maybe there are, and it's just something that's not on our radar because we're not the market to not know these things.
Yeah, I noticed, but I guess I haven't looked, but I wonder if if you go to the parks after the premiere, like Black Widow, will they cover up the part like they used to do for DVDs, cover up the part where it had the theater date and then say, now available on Disney Plus, just straight about the Premier Access tag. Because I don't know, it does pop when it becomes available, but I wonder if it limits it because then I don't know. It's a complicated situation. So, anything else come out to you at the earnings call?
Not really. I wish there were a bit more news. They did talk a decent amount about the parks and kind of what I was saying earlier about how the reservations and the new Magic Key program are going to work. They didn't go too far into it, but they definitely talked about it more than I was probably expecting. That was really about it. Nothing too exciting.
One thing I thought was interesting was Disney Genie, and talked about how it will lead to commercial opportunities. This isn't just a guest improvement for guest improvement. It's they expect to make more money. The question is how. Disneyland Paris just recently launched, I forget what they call it, but the Premier Access for their parks where you can pay to get on a ride. And it seems like Disney Genie's launch might be, tied to that. He called it My Magic Plus on steroids. I think we all is publicly aware that My Magic Plus ended up being a lot smaller than originally envisioned. But I
people
think
probably forget what Disney Genie even is because they announced it at the 2019 Expo, and then obviously things have happened. But they even teased it a few months ago, and they said, "Oh, it's coming soon," and then we're like, "When is soon?" Because then they just shut up about it again. So it was interesting. You're right. I already forgot about it, but that was a big push from him, but I wonder how soon is in this case. Since it
I remember when Tilak Mandati, who was the CTO of Disney Parks at the time, has now left the company, when he did a presentation at IAAPA and kind of briefly mentioned it again. And I think the fact that they're briefly saying what it is implies it might be something they want to manage the rollout on, as opposed to just saying, a new way for guests to book reservations. There seems to be more going on there. And I don't know. Kind of ties to another thing I thought was interesting is I'm not familiar if people like the Magic Key program or not, but Bob Chapek did say that it was enthusiastically received by fans.
I think they were enthusiastic that it didn't cost more than they thought.
Yeah, so I'm glad everyone's happy.
I wonder if the Williams estate will be watching the marketing for Disney Genie to make sure it doesn't take up more than 25% of any of the banners and stuff.
Yeah, I think they resolved that one. But just now, so they talk about Star. Not really. They talked about how Hotstar or Star Plus will be launching in Latin America later this month. But they didn't specifically talk about any Star titles. The only thing I guess that's kind of Star tangential is that they did say that there's going to be more marketing and content from ABC and FX in this quarter. Not so much because of a big sort of strategic thing, but just the way COVID impacted production. There's just more titles to air coming up, with the new fall season and stuff. There's less filler. So especially if you've been following it, it's been a lot of, delays. It's because they don't make a lot of content to begin with. So you're going to see a lot on FX, and then also sort of the tied FX on Hulu shows.
They also mentioned that the rollout of Disney Plus in Central Europe is going to be delayed till 2022, but then they're also going to be doing Middle East and South Africa. I don't know if he said South Africa or Southern Africa. But either way, more territories throughout the next year.
Yeah. So, one thing that I thought's been interesting is they haven't really, Bob Chapek, since he's sort of been solo, hasn't used this opportunity to really make big announcements. He likes making big announcements. I mean, he's always been passionate about the expo. He's obviously going to be at Destination D. But, these have been more, the big sort of reveal today was Disney Plus Day, which
you didn't say anything about.
Right. But I appreciate that I can put it on our content calendar. But
you probably would have done that anyway, though, because when the service came out.
So, I do know when Disney Plus launched. I was hoping he was going to say another Investor Day, like on November 12th when we have our third Investor Day, but no. So good results. Disney's still up about $10. Be interesting to see what happens tomorrow when the market opens for real and options and all that stuff happen. But be interesting to see. For those that want more sort of Disney money conversation, Bob Chapek will be on CNBC's Mad Money with Jim Cramer today, and show starts in about 5 minutes. But I don't know what segment he's going to be on. But there will be more sort of talk about what, I don't think he'll say anything shocking, but if you want to kind of see Bob in the flesh, we'll see. And I guess the next big Disney thing that's on our radars. Well, tonight we'll see how Free Guy does theatrically, which is obviously, their next big sort of push, and it's their first non-hybrid solution for a while. And then we'll get into Shang-Chi, Disney World's 50th, and a whole lot mess of other things before we have the next earnings call will probably be, in about 3 months, obviously, but that will be for the whole fiscal year. And then we'll see. Capital expenditures were down about $200 million compared to last year at the park. So they are spending less on the parks, but they did say, interestingly, that it's due to temporarily suspended. So they did not call out anything that's been canceled, although we do know smaller attractions like the Mary Poppins experience at Epcot have been canceled, but that doesn't mean that money is not going to be reallocated so to either that project or another project in the future. But it doesn't sound like they're getting too wacky new about anything, and or continue to invest in the parks, which is what I always fear. Is things get tough, they cut money, and then when the things get better, there's nothing to do at the nothing new at the parks to bring them in. So anyway, thanks so much for joining us. Any last words, Kyle?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.